question that's divided politicians and the public for the last 2 years. Is the UK complicit in genocide? Those 6 words have polarised debate in the United Kingdom. On one hand, there are those who say there is no case to answer, while others say the answer is crystal clear. So, who's right? I'm Sangeeta Maiska. This is The Long Story Short.
אין חשמל, אין מזון, אין מים, אין דלק. הכל סגור.
I'm well aware of the definition of genocide, and that is why I've never described this as and referred to it as genocide.
It's just the cynical political values that seem to animate this government.
Over the last 2 years, the UK government has, for the most part, backed Israel's war on Gaza, however extreme the tactics.
Israel must have that, does have that right to defend herself, and Hamas bears responsibility.
A siege is appropriate? Cutting off power, cutting off water? Sakir?
Well, I think that Israel does have that right. It is an ongoing situation.
Then, this summer, there was a diplomatic shift. The UK finally recognised Palestinian statehood,
the state of Palestine,
adding weight to its partial arms embargo, though it has to be said, export licences supplying parts for F-35 fighter jets that drop bombs on Gaza are still in place. When pushed, the UK government has implied it can't take more action until an international court settles the question of whether Israel has committed genocide.
On behalf of a government, it must be right that courts make those determinations.
But top legal scholars disagree, saying this stance highlights a double standard.
The Prime Minister and the Foreign Secretary both said this about a year ago, and it's simply absolutely inconsistent and incompatible with statements that they have made before the International Court of Justice in another case, the case filed by Ukraine against Russia.
So, what does international law oblige countries, including the UK, to do? It's been 2 years since the Hamas-led attack on Israel on 7th of October 2023, which resulted in 1,200 deaths and 250 people taken captive. Israel's military response has proved devastating. Relentless bombardment has destroyed over 65% of civilian infrastructure. 90% of the population has been displaced. Israel has created a man-made famine. To date, at least 67,000 people have been killed.
What is your reaction to that? Does it make you feel shame? Does it make you reflect on what's been going on? Or do you just think, well, the international community is lying?
Matt, I'll tell you how I feel as a representative and a spokesman of Israel's government. I feel pride.
The mass killing, displacement and destruction of Gaza led South Africa to file a claim at the International Court of Justice, accusing Israel of genocide, a charge it denies. As the case itself will take years to conclude, in January 2024, the ICJ issued an interim opinion, finding it plausible that Israel's attack on Palestinians was in breach of the Genocide Convention. It ordered Israel to take a number of preventative measures.
And these included a stop to the attacks by the IDF, various other measures to preserve evidence, to stop the hate speech that was inciting genocide. There were a number of components of the order, and it was directed at Israel.
And have we seen any of those preventative measures implemented by Israel?
I think it's generally agreed that Israel has totally ignored the measures that it was ordered to impose by the International Court of Justice.
With Netanyahu refusing to recognize the court's order, public sentiment, once sympathetic to Israel, shifted decisively. Hundreds of thousands of people mobilized, demanding an immediate ceasefire and captive release. Then, in a relatively little reported development, the Nicaraguan government decided to file its own case at the ICJ, this time against Germany, a third party which it accused of failing to prevent a genocide. This was to prove pivotal to the question of the UK's potential complicity. The case is ongoing. However, the court
made a statement that was addressed to all states, and it was about how they had to take measures to prevent genocide taking place, that they were bound by international law. It was a reminder to states of this obligation. And there's absolutely, I think, no doubt, and the case law of the International Court of Justice is very clear, that even states that aren't involved in specific proceedings at the court have an obligation under international law to take measures to prevent genocide when it's threatened, and not to contribute to it when it's actually taking place.
In other words, the highest court in the world has clearly reiterated that where it's already judged there's a risk of genocide, every country, including the UK, must take all steps necessary to prevent it. Countries failing to do so could be judged complicit. So, why hasn't the UK gone full pelt to fulfill its legal obligations by, for example, implementing some of the measures it's taken against Russia during the war on Ukraine, like trade sanctions, a total ban on arms sales, or cancelling sporting and cultural events? The answer, it seems, is likely to lie in the opaque world of political priorities and who gets to define what's in the national interest.